In the early years of World War II, Britain faced a formidable enemy in the skies. German bombers, known as the Luftwaffe, threatened cities and towns across the nation. To counter this, Britain employed a strategy that turned darkness into a defensive ally. This approach, known as the blackout, became a crucial element of Britain's wartime resilience. The blackout began in September 1939, shortly after Britain declared war on Germany. It aimed to make it difficult for enemy aircraft to identify targets. Streetlights were extinguished, and homes were required to cover windows with heavy curtains or blackout blinds. Car headlights were dimmed, and even the glow of a cigarette was discouraged. The goal was to plunge the landscape into darkness, denying enemy pilots any visual cues. This strategy was not without its challenges. Navigating the darkened streets became perilous for civilians. Accidents increased, and the fear of crime grew. Yet, the blackout was largely effective in confusing enemy bombers. It forced them to rely on less accurate navigation methods, reducing the precision of their attacks. By 1940, the blackout had become a part of daily life in Britain. It was a constant reminder of the war's reach, affecting even the simplest routines. Despite the difficulties, the British public adapted, showing resilience in the face of adversity. This adaptation was a testament to their determination to protect their homeland. For those unfamiliar with Britain's geography, imagine a map with London at its center, stretching out to cities like Birmingham and Manchester. These areas, along with many others, were all subject to the blackout's protective embrace. In 1939, Britain declared war on Germany. This decision marked the beginning of a challenging period. The British government, along with local authorities, quickly began preparing for the conflict. They anticipated that German air raids would target cities. Protecting civilians became a top priority. One of the first measures was the introduction of blackout regulations. These rules aimed to obscure city lights. By doing so, they hoped to make it difficult for enemy aircraft to find targets. Streetlights were turned off, and windows were covered with heavy curtains or paint. The goal was to plunge cities into darkness. These measures required coordination. Local authorities worked closely with residents to ensure compliance. The stakes were high. Any visible light could guide enemy bombers. This made adherence to the blackout essential for safety. In 1940, the first air raids began. London and other cities faced the threat of bombs. These attacks tested the effectiveness of the blackout measures. The darkness made it harder for German pilots to identify targets. This offered some protection to the population. The blackout was a significant part of Britain's defense strategy. It demonstrated the importance of preparation and unity. As the war continued, these efforts would evolve. The next step involved refining and implementing the blackout more effectively. In 1939, Britain introduced blackout regulations. These rules required all visible lights to be hidden. The aim was to make cities less visible to enemy bombers. Citizens had to cover windows and doors to prevent light from escaping. This was crucial for safety during air raids. Local wardens played a key role. They patrolled neighborhoods to ensure compliance. If they spotted a light, they would instruct the resident to cover it immediately. Non-compliance was risky. Any visible light could attract enemy bombers, putting entire areas in danger. To block light effectively, people used special blackout curtains. These heavy, dark fabrics covered windows completely. Some also painted windows with black paint. This ensured no light escaped. It was a significant effort for households across Britain. The situation became more urgent in 1940. The Blitz, a sustained bombing campaign by Germany, began. London and other cities faced nightly raids. The need for strict adherence to blackout rules intensified. Darkness became a vital defense against the bombers. This period marked a turning point. The blackout was no longer just a precaution. It was a daily reality. People adapted to living without visible light at night. This adjustment was challenging but necessary. It was a shared effort for survival. As the war continued, daily life in darkness became the norm. People found new ways to cope and maintain routines. The blackout affected every aspect of life. From work to leisure, the absence of light shaped experiences. The next section will explore how people adapted to these conditions. The blackout profoundly affected daily life in Britain during World War II. In 1939, as regulations took hold, families and workers had to adjust their routines. With windows covered and streetlights turned off, navigating the darkened streets became a daily challenge. People adapted by developing new habits. Families used heavy curtains and blackout paint to ensure no light escaped their homes. Workers commuting in the dark relied on memory and caution. Torches, known as flashlights in the U.S., were used sparingly to conserve batteries, adding to the difficulty of moving safely at night. The stakes were high. Tripping hazards and collisions were common. People had to be vigilant to avoid accidents. The absence of streetlights made it easy to lose one's way. Communities came together to support each other. Neighbors often walked in groups to increase safety. This collective effort helped improve both safety and morale. In some areas, volunteers painted white lines on curbs and obstacles to make them more visible. These small changes made a big difference. The shared experience of adapting to the blackout fostered a sense of unity. People found comfort in knowing they were not alone in their struggles. As the blackout continued, the role of air raid wardens became increasingly important. These local volunteers played a key part in ensuring compliance and safety. They patrolled neighborhoods, offering guidance and assistance. Their presence was a reassuring sight in the darkened streets. Air raid wardens played a crucial role in Britain during World War II. They were essential in enforcing blackout rules. These rules required all windows to be covered to prevent light from guiding enemy bombers. The wardens ensured that no light escaped from homes and businesses. Most wardens were volunteers from local communities. They came from various backgrounds, including teachers, shopkeepers, and retirees. Their familiarity with their neighborhoods helped them effectively manage their duties. This local involvement fostered a sense of community responsibility. The stakes were high. Wardens ensured compliance with blackout regulations. They also played a key role in safety during air raids. Their vigilance reduced the risk of enemy planes spotting targets. This vigilance helped protect lives and property. Wardens patrolled the streets at night. They checked for any visible light and reminded residents to cover windows. During air raids, they assisted in emergencies. They guided people to shelters and provided first aid when needed. Their presence offered reassurance to many during these frightening times. The effectiveness of air raid wardens was significant. Their efforts reduced casualties and damage from bombings. By maintaining strict blackout conditions, they helped confuse enemy pilots. This confusion often led to missed targets. During World War II, technological advances played a key role in shaping Britain's blackout strategies. Engineers and military planners worked tirelessly to adapt tactics in response to the evolving threats from German bombers. As enemy aircraft became more advanced, so too did the need for improved defenses. Radar technology was one of the most significant developments. Introduced in the late 1930s, radar allowed British forces to detect incoming aircraft from a distance. This early warning system was crucial in coordinating defenses and minimizing damage. Anti-aircraft guns, strategically placed around cities like London and Liverpool, provided an additional layer of protection. These guns, combined with the blackout, made it more difficult for enemy bombers to find their targets. The stakes were high. The Luftwaffe, Germany's air force, continued to refine its tactics. In response, Britain needed to stay one step ahead. The integration of radar and anti-aircraft defenses with the blackout strategy proved effective. This combination significantly enhanced Britain's resilience against air raids. By 1941, these innovations had reached a turning point. The coordinated use of technology and tactics helped reduce the impact of bombing raids. Britain's ability to adapt and improve its defenses was a testament to the skill and determination of its engineers and planners. As we move forward, it's important to consider the role of public cooperation in these efforts. The success of technological advancements relied heavily on the support and participation of ordinary citizens. In the next section, we will explore the challenges and contributions of the British public during this critical period. Public cooperation was essential for the success of Britain's blackout strategies during World War II. The blackout required citizens to cover windows and doors to prevent light from escaping. This made it harder for German bombers to identify targets. Compliance was not just encouraged, it was enforced. Those who failed to follow the rules faced fines. This legal pressure underscored the importance of every individual's role in national defense. Despite the necessity, maintaining morale was challenging. The blackout meant living in darkness, which increased the sense of isolation and fear. People had to navigate streets without streetlights, leading to accidents. Yet the public spirit remained resilient. Community programs emerged to support adherence. In cities like London and Manchester, neighborhood groups helped distribute materials like blackout curtains. They also shared tips on how to effectively block light. As the war progressed, awareness of the blackout's importance grew. People understood that their efforts directly contributed to reducing bombing damage. This led to better compliance and fewer penalties. The sense of shared purpose strengthened community bonds. By 1943, these efforts showed clear results. The number of successful bombing raids decreased, and public confidence increased. This period of cooperation paved the way for changes. As the war situation evolved, discussions began about easing blackout restrictions. People looked forward to the return of light and normalcy. The gradual lifting of these rules would soon signal a shift in daily life. By 1944, the threat of air raids over Britain had significantly diminished. The Allied forces were gaining ground in Europe. This shift allowed the government to reconsider the strict blackout measures that had been in place since the war began. The blackout, which required citizens to cover windows and extinguish lights, had been crucial in preventing enemy bombers from finding targets. As the danger lessened, the government began to ease these restrictions. This process was gradual. It aimed to balance the need for safety with the desire to return to normal life. People were eager to enjoy simple pleasures like streetlights and illuminated homes. However, caution remained important. The risk, though reduced, had not disappeared entirely. The relaxation of blackout measures occurred in stages. Initially, some streetlights were allowed to be turned on. Later, restrictions on home lighting were loosened. This gradual approach helped prevent any sudden increase in risk. It also allowed communities to adjust slowly to the changes. The easing of restrictions was a welcome relief for many. It signaled a step towards the end of wartime hardships. The turning point came in 1945 with the end of the war in Europe, known as Victory in Europe, VE Day. This marked a full return to normalcy. The blackout was no longer necessary. People could finally live without the constant fear of air raids. The lifting of these measures was symbolic. It represented a new beginning and the hope for peace. As we move forward, it is important to consider the legacy of the blackout. This period left lasting impressions on British society and culture. The blackout during World War II had a lasting impact on British society. It was a time when cities like London and Manchester were plunged into darkness to avoid enemy detection. This experience shaped the way people lived and thought about safety and community. Post-war generations learned valuable lessons from these wartime experiences. Families who lived through the blackout shared stories of adaptation and endurance. These tales became part of the cultural fabric, teaching younger people about resilience and the importance of community support. Understanding the need for preparedness became a key takeaway from the blackout. People realized the importance of being ready for emergencies. This mindset influenced future civil defense strategies in Britain. Innovations developed during the war, like better air raid shelters and warning systems, informed planning for potential future conflicts. The blackout also became a symbol of resilience and unity. It demonstrated how people could come together in challenging times. This unity was not just about survival, it was about maintaining morale and supporting one another. The shared experience fostered a sense of national solidarity. As Britain moved forward, the lessons of the blackout remained relevant. They highlighted the importance of readiness and community spirit. This period in history served as a reminder of the strength found in unity and the power of collective effort. As World War II drew to a close in 1945, Britain emerged from a period of profound darkness. The war had tested the nation's resilience and adaptability. Despite the destruction and loss, these challenging years laid the groundwork for future strategies. Lessons learned during the war would influence military tactics, economic policies, and social reforms. The necessity for innovation during the war led to significant advancements. Radar technology, developed to detect enemy aircraft, became a cornerstone of modern defense systems. The experience of managing scarce resources informed post-war economic planning. Rationing, though difficult, taught lessons in efficiency and sustainability. Socially, the war had a unifying effect. Shared hardships fostered a sense of community and equality. This spirit contributed to the establishment of the National Health Service in 1948, ensuring health care for all citizens. The war also accelerated discussions on decolonization, as Britain reassessed its global role. Recapping, the darkness of wartime Britain illuminated paths for future progress. Innovations in technology and strategy, alongside social reforms, were direct outcomes of wartime experiences. These changes were not immediate, but the seeds were sown during those challenging years. Reflecting on this period, it is clear that adversity often drives transformation. Britain's wartime experiences demonstrated that even in the darkest times, there can be a path to light. The strategies and reforms that emerged continue to influence the nation and the world today.